He answered his country's call.
He deployed to the Middle East to do a full tour.
She was the woman he left behind.
You can only imagine the longing.
And despite the challenges, they made it work.
They were together for 13 years.
They had 4 beautiful daughters.
They had a bright future ahead of them.
Until, after surviving Afghanistan, he died at his own front door.
She hears a knock at the door.
The next thing she hears are gunshots.
It looked like it was personal. It was an execution.
Was it also a betrayal?
They find hundreds of text messages.
They found new pictures.
This was more than just a fling.
But does it add up to murder?
It ain't against the law to cheat.
Or is the obvious suspect not always the right one?
They are gloating about their crime.
They consider themselves Bonnie and Clyde.
Talk about a plot twist.
This man lost his life because of that?
2021. It's late Wednesday night in Newport News, Virginia, a hard-working port city just across the James River from Norfolk, home to the U.S. Navy's Atlantic Fleet.
Newport News is pretty much a military town because you got one of the biggest naval bases on the East Coast right here. You also got a couple surrounding Army bases as well.
You have a lot of active and retired military in and around Newport News.
And at 2 o'clock that April morning, the wife of one former serviceman makes a frantic call to 911.
911, what is your emergency?
Something's happened to my husband.
Okay, calm down. What is your name?
The caller is 36-year-old Danielle Shabazz.
Danielle told the operator that she and her children were away from the house that night.
But she called her husband, 39-year-old Sal Shabazz, to say goodnight.
Hey, baby, how's it going?
Hey.
Danielle and her husband were on the phone talking, and all of a sudden, she hears a knock at the door.
Hold on, somebody's at the door.
Who?
He went to see who it was.
So, can I help you?
She hears her husband talking to whoever is at the door.
What are you talking about, man?
The next thing she hears are a series of bangs.
I don't even worry about it.
Sal. I don't know. I think it was gunshots.
Then the phone goes silent.
He won't answer me.
Your mind would just run the gamut of possibilities. Your mind just starts spinning.
She was completely terrified that something had happened to him.
Please send somebody to the house.
Sal Shabazz grew up in South Bend, Indiana, as one of 12 siblings.
His mother had 6 children, and then she adopted 6 more.
I couldn't do it without God. He called me to be the mother of these children, and he equipped me to do so, to parent them.
The fact that half his siblings were adopted wasn't all that set Sal's family apart.
He grew up with his mom being Christian, his father being of the Islam faith.
His full name is Saladin Ibn Shabazz. Saladin is an Arab name.
He was named from a historical sultan from Egypt and Syria who fought the Crusaders in the Holy Land.
From an early age, Sal lived up to his heroic name.
He was a star athlete when he was in high school.
He played varsity football from the day he walked into high school all the way through. He's broke all kind of records that have yet today to be broken.
He was very popular.
Sal Shabazz is that all-American kind of dude.
After finishing high school, Sal continued his success in college.
Sal played football for Grand Valley State and then transferred to Minnesota State.
However, he didn't graduate. Instead, his life careened in a different direction.
While he was in college, Sal's on-again, off-again, long-term girlfriend, Danielle Holland, got pregnant.
Sal and Danielle had known one another since they were kids.
With the impending birth of their daughter, Sal and Danielle decided to make their relationship official.
They got married in 2007. They got married at the courthouse on New Year's Eve. It was like a quick wedding.
And Sal chose a different path for his life to support his family.
Sal enlisted in the Army.
He came to me one day and said, "Mom, I want a way to provide for my family, so I'm gonna go to the service."
Although it wasn't without risks.
Sal was immediately deployed to the Middle East to do a full tour in Afghanistan.
And the disruptions didn't end once Sal came home from overseas.
Once Sal returned from his deployment, he was stationed in Newport News, Virginia. So Danielle packed up with her husband and they moved 800 miles away from Indiana to the Chesapeake Bay.
Together, they built a new life in Virginia.
Sal and Danielle had 4 daughters.
Danielle was working at the post office as a mail carrier, and once Sal got discharged from the military, he got a job as a forklift operator.
A decade after Sal first shipped off to Afghanistan, he and Danielle had beaten the odds.
A lot of military couples don't last after the spouse is away for such a long time.
Sal and Danielle were the exception.
It was almost like they were meant for each other.
He's a good husband. Awesome dad. He always was a provider.
They had a bright future ahead of them.
Only now, Danielle fears something terrible has happened to her husband.
Sal's wife has called Newport News police after hearing what she believes to be gunshots.
They had been talking on the phone when she heard the bangs.
He won't answer me.
And at that point, 911 dispatches the police to the house to investigate.
When officers arrive, they see nothing alarming. At first,
the front door is closed. There's no sign of a gunman.
There are no signs of forced entry.
Sheriff's office.
Not taking any chances, the police carefully make entry into the Shabazz home.
Inside, they find a horrific scene.
The first thing they see is Sal Shabazz lying on the floor.
He's laying in a pool of blood.
He had been shot 4 times.
Hard-working forklift driver and Army veteran Sal Shabazz was as all-American as they come.
Sal was a very nice guy, a cool person, easy to get along with.
He had integrity, he was kind, he was honest.
And he was raising 4 children with the love of his life, his wife, Danielle.
She was someone that he felt that he could build something with, build a life with, build a family with.
But now, police are at Sal and Danielle's home in response to a desperate 911 call.
Danielle, she's on the phone with her husband, and he hears a knock at the door, and the next thing she hears are these bangs.
Sal! Sal!
She knows in her gut something's wrong.
When police enter the home, they discover that Danielle was right to fear the worst.
Sal lying on the floor in a pool of blood. He was bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds.
He was pronounced dead at the scene.
When homicide detectives arrive, they start their investigation by finding Sal's body.
He's been shot 2 times in the torso, twice in the head, execution style.
Near the body, homicide detectives find 4 shell casings lying on the floor.
They then took those casings and sent them off to ballistics to be tested.
Ballistics could eventually lead detectives to the murder weapon, but there's little at the scene to suggest the killer's motive.
A thorough search of the home shows that there was nothing disturbed, which ruled out the potential for robbery.
This was deliberate. This was intentional.
The question was, why target Sal?
Looking for answers, the detectives canvass the neighborhood.
Officers talked to neighbors and asked them if they had any information.
None of the neighbors reported seeing anything suspicious.
Everybody was asleep at the time of the crime.
But the canvas could still provide some crucial information.
How you doing?
Hey, the neighbor across the street had a doorbell camera.
Doorbells have been used in cases across the country to assist in getting information to police.
With the homeowner, detectives review the doorbell cam surveillance footage.
This video shows a black SUV which pulls up at 2 in the morning.
A shadowy black figure gets out of the SUV and then walks up to Sal's house.
Sal opened the door. They had an exchange of words.
Then the figure at the door pulled out a gun and started shooting.
The shooting played out exactly as Danielle described.
The video also appears to confirm that Sal's murder was a targeted hit.
The suspect jumps back in the SUV and he peels off with the headlights turned off.
This was strictly about killing this person.
But confirmation of how it happened doesn't get detectives any closer to solving the case.
They can't make out the person or the license plate number.
With no other leads, investigators turn to the closest thing to a witness they have.
Investigators' next move is to speak to the person who was on the phone when it happened, Danielle.
The officers sent a cruiser to pick Danielle up and bring her in to see if she could offer any additional information as to what happened to her husband.
We're sorry for your loss.
When Danielle sits down with detectives, it appears that she is still in shock.
This is a tough situation. Danielle just lost her husband. But police have to do their job.
Detectives ask Danielle to start by walking them through the events leading up to her call to 911.
We were just saying goodnight, and everything was just fine until someone knocked on the door.
Hold on, somebody's at the door.
She said he goes to the door, he answers it. She hears a conversation.
Sal.
And she hears what sounds like gunshots, and then the phone goes silent.
She just doesn't know what to do at that point.
However, Danielle does know one thing.
Do you have any idea who was at the door?
She does not hesitate to give them an answer.
There's no question in her mind who did this. No question.
It's this woman that works with me, Tashara Jackson.
Sal Shabazz's wife, Danielle, has just told detectives who she thinks gunned down the 39-year-old Army veteran in the foyer of their Newport News, Virginia home.
Sal.
Danielle tells investigators that she is convinced that Tashara Jackson, who was a fellow co-worker at the post office, is responsible for her husband's death.
What makes you think she was involved?
Tashara and I have been having problems.
She and Tashara have been going back and forth in a feud that began over a dispute at work.
What sort of problems?
I don't even know. It's just like we don't get along.
And according to Danielle, things had recently escalated.
She met Tashara at the nail salon.
Well.
And I guess they have words.
I don't know what you looking at, so you need to put those eyeballs back in your head.
Her and Tashara got into a huge argument outside of the nail salon.
She did admit that while Tashara was getting her nails done, that she in fact slashed her tires.
You slashed Tashara tires?
I know I shouldn't have, but I just got so mad.
And things only got worse from there.
A few days later, according to Danielle, Tashara retaliated.
It was my birthday, and Sal took me to Vegas for the weekend.
When she got back, her car was vandalized.
Someone had spray painted the vehicle, slashed every single tire, and stuck a candy bar in her gas tank.
She knew exactly who it was. She knew that Tashara was behind it.
She didn't call the police, but she just didn't let it go either.
Danielle said the night of the murder, they went to go confront Tashara.
Sal went with you?
Yeah?
He only goes to protect her.
According to Danielle, the confrontation occurred outside a local restaurant.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, right on time. Come and get it. Come and get it.
Because you can't mind your business.
What you gonna do about it?
They get to scrapping, Tashara and Danielle. They're going at it.
Danielle says she was gaining the upper hand when Tashara threatened to take things to the next level.
While she beating Tashara down, Tashara hollers out, grab my pistol out of her car.
That's when Sal and Danielle decided it was time to go.
You guys left?
Yeah, we jumped in the car and we got out of there.
However, Danielle says she was afraid of what would happen next.
She felt like Tashara was going to retaliate.
So she grabs the girls, goes to a hotel.
She just felt that it was safer.
Sal didn't go to the hotel with you?
I tried to get him to come with us, but he wouldn't listen.
He wants to protect his house, protect his home. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. But he just wants to make sure that they have a home to come back to.
Can you please come?
I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna protect this house, okay?
Sal, being a man, he's gonna stand his ground. If anybody comes up in here, they're gonna have to deal with me.
A few hours later, Sal was dead.
Which is why Danielle is so sure that Tashara killed him.
But while Danielle is certain, the detectives aren't so sure.
Why would this work feud escalate to where somebody is now dead?
It raises questions as Danielle trying to throw the detectives off to look in a different direction.
To rule her out definitively, detectives ask Danielle to submit to a GSR test.
It isn't uncommon in a murder to look at the spouse first.
They did do gunshot residue analysis to make sure that she wasn't the shooter.
Based on the neighbor's door cam, though, the shooter wasn't a woman.
They are looking for a black male.
If she were not the trigger person, gunshot residue can be transferred very easily.
While they wait for the results, detectives move on to the only other lead they have, Tashara Jackson. But when she sits down for questioning the following morning, they're surprised by what they find.
She's the opposite of what Danielle portrays her as.
Tashara, based on Danielle's account, is evil, vindictive, but Tashara was in fact a loving, nurturing, church-going person with no criminal record, no violent history.
And according to Tashara, that's not the only thing contrary to what Danielle led them to believe.
Once detectives sit down with Tashara, they begin to hear a very different side of the feud between Tashara and Danielle.
Let me just tell you, she's crazy.
Tashara tells detectives that it is in fact Danielle who has been the instigator in this feud.
What supposedly triggered the feud is what really raised red flags for the detectives.
Tashara tells investigators feud began when she found out that Danielle was having an affair with another one of their co-workers.
Shabazz told detectives investigating her husband's murder that she was certain her co-worker Tashara Jackson was responsible.
Danielle and Tashara work at the post office together, but over the past month or so, they've been having this feud.
But according to Tashara, Danielle hadn't told detectives the whole story.
Tashara reveals to detectives that Danielle was having an affair.
His name is Rob Barnes. He works with us at the post office.
That co-worker happens to be the husband of Tashara's best friend.
According to Tashara, the feud started because she was not happy that Danielle was sleeping with her best friend's husband.
Tashara felt like Danielle was the one who escalated the entire feud when she took it upon herself to slash her tires at the nail shop.
Is that when you tried?
I never touched your car.
She makes it clear that she would have never attempted to hurt her and she would not have killed her husband.
Then who did?
You need to ask Danielle. She's the one who's been cheating.
Tashara is pointing the finger at Danielle, and Danielle is pointing the finger at Tashara.
However, if Danielle is having an affair, that could give her motive to get rid of her husband.
They knew that she didn't pull the trigger, but could she have possibly had her lover do it?
To determine if Tashara is telling the truth, detectives pulled Danielle's phone records.
The detectives were able to confirm that she was, in fact, having an affair with Rob Barnes.
They find hundreds of very sexually explicit text messages between Danielle and Rob.
But as steamy as the affair was, it didn't appear to be a mere fling.
Danielle and Rob were exchanging I love you text messages.
They potentially want to be together now.
Could that have led to Sal's murder?
Or did Danielle have another reason to get rid of her husband?
When detectives dug into Danielle's past, they found out that her perfect marriage may have not been so perfect after all.
Records show that Danielle had taken out a protective order against Sal. Danielle told investigators that Sal had headbutted her after finding messages between Danielle and another man in her phone.
But when investigators talked to people who knew the couple, it sounds more like Danielle might not be so innocent.
He and Danielle had a very, very toxic relationship.
In fact, the problem started well before they were ever married.
For their senior prom, he took another young lady and Danielle sliced the tires on the car.
It was the same thing that Danielle did to Tashara years later.
According to Sal's mother, similar incidents occurred throughout the couple's relationship.
Once she was mad at Sal, she took all his clothes and put them in a pile and poured bleach on them.
By 2021, the marriage appeared all but over.
They were talking about separating, but he did not want to leave his kids. I used to tell Sal to make the necessary sacrifices to try to keep his family together for the sake of his girls.
But for all of Sal's reasons to stick things out, detectives soon learned that Danielle had potentially one big reason to want him gone.
Sal had a $156,000 life insurance policy.
The beneficiary is Danielle.
If Danielle is having this affair, the motive would be if I can get rid of my husband, collect on his policy, me and Rob Barnes got a couple extra dollars.
But an affair and a six-figure insurance policy still aren't enough to prove that Danielle was involved in her husband's death.
Nothing that the officers have is a nail in the coffin, but it damn sure didn't look good.
It did give detectives a little leverage, though.
Armed with what they've learned, detectives bring Danielle in for another round of questioning.
They immediately asked Danielle if she had any issues in her marriage to Sal.
What do you mean?
She told them they were fine, they were in a happy marriage.
She also disputes that she was messing around with Rob Barnes.
We're friends. We work together. That's all.
What she didn't know is investigators already saw the text messages.
Danielle finally concedes, yes, she was having an affair.
But it's not what you think.
She insists she had nothing to do with Sal's death.
Danielle tells detectives that she and Sal may not have had the perfect relationship, but she would have never wanted to hurt him.
She also informed the officers that she didn't even know about the life insurance policy until after he was dead.
Not that her denials do anything to relieve the detectives' suspicions.
She withheld vital information.
still doesn't give investigators enough to charge her with anything.
However, there's also one piece of vital information that detectives have withheld from Danielle.
The gunshot residue test that was performed on Danielle during her first interview came back.
Danielle tested positive for gunshot residue.
Danielle, you tested positive for GSR.
How you gonna explain that?
When detectives investigating her husband's murder confronted Danielle Shabazz about the affair she was having with a coworker, the mother of four admitted that she'd been unfaithful.
While she finally owned up to the affair, kept insisting she had nothing to do with her husband's murder.
Investigators find what Danielle is saying hard to believe.
Because detectives have recently received results from the gunshot residue test they conducted on Danielle just hours after the shooting.
And these results revealed that Danielle did in fact have residue on her hands.
When detectives confront Danielle with this information, she is genuinely stunned.
How you gonna explain that?
I did not shoot a gun that night. I swear.
Danielle is like, I have no idea where that came from.
And based on the evidence, it wasn't Danielle who shot Sal 4 times just inside the couple's front door.
They know that a man killed Sal.
If you go back to that video footage from the doorbell video, it definitely was a man who pulled the trigger.
But does that mean Danielle wasn't involved?
Detectives theorize that Danielle may have recruited her lover Rob to do the murder.
And when Danielle and her lover connected at a later point, that gunshot residue could have been transferred by the holding of hands or touching something that the trigger man touched.
Could that explain how gunshot residue ended up on Danielle's hands?
That's not the only possible explanation.
She could have gotten the residue on her hands in an innocent way.
It could have happened when she rode to the police station in the police cruiser.
Which means the gunshot residue alone is not enough to make an arrest.
All of that is just a theory rooted in speculation. And investigators will have to have more evidence before they are able to move forward with any murder charges.
And while Danielle and Rob's cell phone records provide plenty of evidence of an affair, that's all detectives are able to find.
They look through their text exchanges, and they don't have any evidence of any back and forth about plotting to kill Sal.
Police also found that there was no evidence in their phone records that had them reaching out to a third party to hire the hit.
In fact, the cell phone records appear to exonerate both Danielle and her lover.
When detectives pulled their GPS locations at the time of the murder, they hit a stumbling block.
Rob nor Danielle were even in the area based on the data from the phone records.
She was nowhere close, nor was Rob.
Does that mean Danielle and her lover are innocent? Or does it mean they're smart?
Maybe Rob left his phone at home on purpose, and Danielle made that phone call to Sal from the hotel so the cops couldn't place her at the scene.
Either way, the detectives are no closer to solving Sal's murder.
They just don't have enough evidence.
They didn't have a choice other than to continue with the investigation.
So detectives decide to take a second look at Tashara Jackson, the co-worker Danielle named as Sal's killer.
Just to rule her out, the detectives pulled Tashara's cell phone records.
Although instead of ruling Tashara out, the detectives make a surprising discovery.
GPS evidence puts Tashara in close proximity to the scene of the killing, at the time of the killing.
The records don't put her at the scene of the crime, but the reason why also arouses suspicion.
Tashara's phone was turned off only moments before the murder.
wasn't turned back on until several hours after.
This is a stunning revelation for police. Maybe Danielle was right from the beginning, and Tashara did have something to do with Sal's murder.
However, there is still one piece of the puzzle missing.
They know that Sal was shot by a man.
She must have been waiting in the car when it happened, but who could it have been that got out of the car and actually pulled the trigger?
Digging through Tashara's phone records, the detectives soon come up with a possible answer.
In the weeks leading up to the murder, Tashara had been communicating regularly with another man who also worked at the post office.
His name is Jeremy Petway.
And they weren't talking about mail. They were having an affair.
Which is wild, considering Danielle's workplace affair is what started the feud with Tashara.
All these people sleeping around. What the heck they had going on in that post office?
Based on the text messages, Tashara's affair with Jeremy was just as hot and heavy as Danielle's tryst with Rob.
Nude photos had been sent, and the conversation even included how good their sex was. They also discussed leaving their partners and being together.
And much more important for detectives, that's not all the lovers discussed.
There are text messages where Tashara is telling Mr. Petway that she appreciates him looking out for her.
Jeremy texts back that he was the protector.
They have this exchange about being Bonnie and Clyde.
Detectives investigating the murder of 39-year-old Sal Shabazz were all but convinced that his wife Danielle was behind his death. But new information has just turned the case on its head.
Cell phone records put Danielle's co-worker, Tashara Jackson, and Tashara's lover, Jeremy Petway, near the scene where the murder occurred.
Danielle had been pointing the finger at Tashara from the beginning.
She and this co-worker had some sort of a feud or rivalry.
Based on Tashara and Jeremy's text, Danielle was right about Tashara all along.
Although Tashara and Jeremy do not openly admit to killing Sal Shabazz, the implications are clear. In the days following the shooting, Tashara told Jeremy, "You didn't hesitate."
And he calls them Bonnie and Clyde.
To detectives, it is clear that they are gloating about their crime.
And one of Jeremy's last text messages leaves little doubt they're responsible for Sal's death.
Jeremy tells Tashara, "I gave the gun to one of our friends at work."
Detectives assumed they're texting about the murder weapon.
Investigators quickly follow up on what they've learned from the phone records.
Investigators got a warrant to search the home of the friend that Jeremy mentioned in the text message.
Police show up to this person's house.
Who else is in the house with you?
And as luck would have it, Jeremy is also there.
Jeremy, step outside. You're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back.
The police place Jeremy under arrest and search the house.
Upstairs under the friend's bed, detectives find the handgun.
The officers send the gun straight to ballistics to be tested. And when the results came back, it was indeed the weapon that was used.
It's just slam dunk in the mind of the investigators.
Detectives also take Tashara into custody.
She asks for an attorney and refuses to make a statement.
And at the police station, Jeremy insists that the only relationship they have is as co-workers.
But Jeremy's denials and Tashara's silence do little to deter the detectives.
Even without their confessions, police are ready to charge them with first-degree murder.
Newport News police did their job, and they did it well.
Despite everyone suspecting Danielle, the arrest couldn't have happened without her.
She was a big help because she was on the phone when it all happened.
She was also the person to first put the police on to Tashara.
But when Tashara Jackson goes on trial in March of 2022, it's also clear that her feud with Danielle led directly to Sal's death.
All of this started with Tashara not being happy about Danielle having an affair with her best friend's husband.
The disagreement escalated when Tashara and Danielle got into the argument in front of the nail salon. Danielle slashed Tashara's tires.
To retaliate, Tashara vandalized Danielle's car.
And things only escalated from there.
That led to the beatdown that Danielle gave Tashara in the restaurant parking lot.
For Tashara, it was the last straw.
She wanted to end this feud once and for all.
Prosecutors lay out how, after that altercation at the restaurant, Tashara calls her friend, Jeremy.
Now, we need to get this girl. We're gonna get her.
That begins the murder plot that ultimately ends in the death of Sal.
Just bring the car and bring the gun.
And early on the morning of April 7th, just hours after the parking lot showdown, Tashara and Jeremy set their plan in motion.
Using their phone records, prosecutors was able to show that Jeremy went to pick Tashara up.
Then, as they neared Danielle and Sal's house, Jeremy and Tashara turned off their phones.
She turns her cell phone off, not realizing that investigators can go back and see that you turned it off just before this man got killed.
But the neighbor's doorbell cam captured what happened next.
Jeremy got out of the car and went up to Danielle and Sal's front door.
They intended to shoot her, but they didn't know she wasn't at home.
They had no idea that Danielle had taken the children to the hotel.
So?
Instead, it was Sal who answered the door.
Yeah, I heard you got a problem with Tashara.
Man, we know what happened.
What are you talking about? Man, don't even worry about it.
Sal!
Had Danielle answered the door, she would have been the one who was killed.
Then Jeremy ditched the gun with a friend, and when detectives brought her in for questioning, Tashara used the affair to turn suspicion towards Danielle.
Then who did?
You need to ask Danielle. She's the one who's been cheating.
They thought they had it all figured out.
But the defense can't explain away Tashara's phone records.
With the text messages, there's no doubt left that this is what happened.
Even though they did not have confessions, they did not have eyewitnesses, they had enough evidence that when you put it all together, it painted one very ugly picture.
Would it be enough to convince the jury?
The jury finds Tashara guilty after less than an hour of deliberation.
And Jeremy meets the same fate.
Jeremy is convicted following his own trial.
They were both sentenced to 39 years in prison.
Tashara's lawyer tried to argue the fact that, well, since he pulled the trigger, maybe we can give her less time. The judge said, nope, she gonna get the same time as he got.
Even though the family of the deceased wanted life without parole, they were satisfied with the verdict.
I think about the number of families that don't get justice. I'll take 39 years, it's better than nothing.
But no amount of time can make up for the injustice done to Saladin Shabazz.
This was a man who served his country. This was a man who was married to the love of his life. And even though they had issues and problems, the thing that should have ended their marriage was divorce, not death.